Well, welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live. Here's a reminder, JKLive is powered by Johnny Walker. That's right. Give a gift that sparks this festive season. Johnny Walker exhibiting its eminence in electrifying quality and celebrating 200 years of blended Scotch whiskey excellence. By the way, excessive alcohol consumption is harmful to your health, not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years. Okay, straight to my guests. Nyaritown Member of Parliament, Kunjiru Wambogo. Kikuyu Member of Parliament, Kimani Ishungwa. First of all, these guys have been really good. I was tracking them all day long, and I had to really beg them to come on. Gentlemen, I appreciate your coming on. I know you guys realize these are important times, and that's why you're here primarily. So, Mheshimiwa, first of all, you literally came back from Msambweni. You were there throughout the whole voting, so-called chaos, the counting, and the results. Tell us, what was it like?
First, don't make us look very bad. You didn't beg us to come here.
I begged all day.
Maybe from Gunjeri, spoke for a short time and I agreed to come.
Yes.
I only told you don't keep us too long so that I don't sleep on the bench.
Correct. You don't doze on the bench.
But as you rightly say, Msambweni was fire. One, because there was a lot of interference, unfortunately, by the police and goons. Mostly not people from Kwale County, but goons ferried from Mombasa County. And
you know this for a fact? You know this?
For a fact. For a fact. For a fact.
Okay, were there incidents? Were there, was there, we talked, we heard chaos.
I think the script was the same as you saw in Kibra. And I think when we spoke to the press yesterday morning, we regretted that fact. That was the same script as Kibra, where you suppress voter turnout in your opponent's strongholds by instigating incidents of violence. Sporadic ones, quick fire, 5-10 minutes, make the police disperse people from polling stations, and you achieve what you want because people will disperse, people will be fearful of coming back to the polling stations when they hear gunshots and tear gas all over. And that was a script. Of course, there was also a script to also scare away leaders, to arrest. There was a list of 5 of us to be arrested yesterday, from Senator Mudama, who they actually caught up with, Honorable Mwashatani, who managed to sneak away, Honorable Mohammed Jichopevu, who also sneaked away somehow, Honorable Sudi, and myself. I think they got Honorable Koech. Maybe they thought it was Honorable Sudi.
But Mheshimiwa Ngujiri, at the end of the day, despite what was happening in social media world, the results were obvious. Let's face it, Faisal Badr did win.
Yes,
and the candidate for ODM,
lost.
Boga,
Yes.
he lost.
And I think for me, that's basically how it's supposed to go. I was quite happy today when I saw a statement attributed to ODM conceding that they had lost. I don't know whether it was some tweet by Sifuna. These days, all important people tweet. So I saw a tweet where he said that, yes, they concede they've lost that election. I personally was very impressed with Akina Ishungwa. I'm not very sure what they were doing there because Jubilee didn't have a candidate, but I mean, they were there. They were there.
He had a candidate.
No, Jubilee didn't have a candidate.
No, he was independent.
He was independent. He was not a Jubilee candidate. So I'm not. He most probably forgot. But Jubilee didn't have a candidate in Msambweni.
Yeah.
But not having a candidate also then frees you to decide you could support whoever you wanted.
Were you surprised at the outcome? Because all the polls, let's face it, all the polls leading to yesterday in Msambweni,
including headlines,
had said that Boga was way ahead.
That's true.
Were you surprised?
I was surprised. When the results started streaming in, I was actually very surprised. I have to give credit to these chaps, as I said. I mean, they really did do their part. But then also, there's something we're forgetting about Msambweni and just generally the whole Kwale County. I think it's Kwale County, yes.
Yeah.
Mvuria, the governor of Kwale, is actually a legend in Kwale. And he was supporting Badr. And he's got a grassroots hold of that county that is just superb. So what we were seeing was that fight. When I listened to Mheshimiwa Ishungwa talk about the goons that they say that had come from outside, there was that fight going on in Msambweni between people who are insiders in terms of they come from the county and people who've come from outside the county to come and determine the decision of who is going to be member of parliament of Msambweni. And I think that played very well to the benefit of Ishungwa and team. But I'm not going to make excuses for them. I mean, as you hear, Ishungwa was in a polling station. This is a member of parliament for Kikuyu. He was in Msambweni in a polling station until 5:30 a.m. in the morning. I mean, give credit where it is. Give credit where it's due. They did the part.
Okay, tell me something. Did you?
But I do need to understand what they were doing there. That's the part I hope before the show is over.
We will know.
Ishungwa is going to tell us.
Did you know you were going to win going into the day?
We knew we were going to win. And I heard you and Gunjiri mentioned the opinion polls. And I think I only saw one from one of the weekly papers, which right from its face value was fake. Because the kind of numbers they were giving, actually, if you looked at that particular opinion poll by the Star, to be specific, they indicated that the Jubilee candidate was number 2, I think, with some 17%. As you say, Jubilee ideally had no candidate on the ballot paper. Then Faisal was ranked as number 4, number 5. And you just needed to be on the ground to know, and anyone would have told you the fight was basically between the ODM candidate and the independent candidate, Faisal. Therefore, the opinion polls, just ignore them. They were just, they're just like all other opinion polls that you'll see being peddled by different interest groups. And those ones, of course, were peddled by ODM. To say Jubilee didn't have a candidate is not being accurate. I think we would rather be factual. Jubilee, led by the Secretary General, in the presence of the Deputy President and Deputy Party Leader, they announced at their headquarters here, the Jubilee headquarters, that Jubilee will not be fielding a candidate. They will be supporting the ODM candidate. And I think we were told that this is a handshake candidate. The former Prime Minister buttressed that point when he came to Msambweni last week and said that indeed this is the handshake candidate. This is actually the test for the handshake and BBI. Sijui ikipita, ikianguka, BBI itakuwa na shida hapa Kwale. The third thing is the local coastal politics, as you say. The goons was not about the local coastal politics. And Ngunjiri may want to belittle the rise of the hustler nation in Msambweni and indeed in the entire country. Because it's the hustler nation telling you that enough is enough. You cannot direct us on what to do, including how and who we elect. Through your political parties, the political parties that you own as personal property. And the people in Kwale, remember Faisal was an ODM member before the late Mheshimiwa Dori passed on, and he actually worked with him in ODM. He only bolted out of ODM because of the manner in which they were conducting their party nominations, how they were going to select their candidate. And he knew, as was expected, that he would not get a fair hearing because the owners of the party were not comfortable with him having worked with Sulaiman Dori, the late Sulaiman Dori, and Dori having worked with the deputy president. Therefore, the issue on coastal politics played out when the governor from Mombasa came to insult the governor of Kwale. And unfortunately infected their candidate with the same insults. And people, of course, will be defensive of their own governor if he's under attack by 2 other governors from the one from Kieleweke and Kwale. But that was not the principal determinant. First, the independent candidate, Faisal, was a good candidate, so to say, because I've been in many elections. I've seen candidates some who can't be able to express themselves, some who can't tell you what agenda they have for the people. He had a very good agenda that was able to articulate to the people and tell them, we are selling continuity. We want to sell continuity. We'll be able to push on with the projects in these 2 years to 2022 that we started when I was working with the late Mheshimiwa Dori. Of course, the hustler nation politics also largely played out. Joho came there, insulted the deputy president, kama ni mwanaume. I don't know why I was asking kama ni mwanaume. That I didn't figure out. Maybe he will call him here to tell us why he is asking whether a man is a man and what he wants with men. So,
okay, but
and they wanted to make it a contest between a governor who's being ranked number 39 out of 47 and a sitting deputy president. And that's why you heard him saying that the deputy president is conducting the campaign from Karen and sending his vinyangarikas. The vinyangarikas now apparently the team of members of parliament that went there from our side of the political divide. And now it defends me why Ngujiri, who that time believed that this campaign was about William Ruto and Raila Odinga, or William Ruto and the BBI stroke handshake team, to an extent that they went to an extent of orchestrating a photo session with the president, with this ODM candidate, my party leader, taking a photograph with the handshake candidate, the ODM candidate.
Right.
And I was there campaigning for an independent candidate, and my party leader is taking photographs with
much more
member of another party.
I think
okay, go on.
I stand. It's true. I mean, when I was talking about the fact that Jubilee didn't have a candidate, what I actually meant is that as a party, we did not feel a candidate. But it's true that the reason we didn't feel a candidate was because as the party made a decision that we didn't want to get into a contest with our handshake partner. So it's true. Boga was actually the person who was being supported by Jubilee, and that is why he did a photograph. And Ishungu is giving us too much credit to imagine we can orchestrate a photograph with the president if he doesn't want a photograph. So he must have wanted the photograph, and that's why it was taken. You know, I mean, this guy, I mean, you know the president, you don't just walk up to him and take a photograph.
No.
So if he's taken a photograph, it's a decision that was made, and he accepted the decision. You don't just walk up to him. So he, in this particular incident of Msambweni, yes, as a party, the person we were supporting was Boga, and he lost. And we actually okay. I mean,
tell me something. Was this a litmus test, like Moshimu was saying? Was this a litmus test?
I suspect it was I suspect it was a litmus test for Tangatanga and Ishungu and their team. I think for us it wasn't. I think for us it was a sign of good faith and goodwill to the people who we were working with in the handshake. It's unfortunate to some extent that the reason that the candidate we were supporting lost was because some members of our party went to campaign for the other guy who beat him. But that's just how politics goes. And the lesson I know we have learned, for those of us who are in Jubilee, because I'm not sure where Ishungu is right now, but for those of us who are in Jubilee, the lesson we have learned, because I mean, I've been following the conversation since last night, and the joy and the happiness that is there, because, for example, that our handshake partner lost in Msambweni, that Jubilee lost in Keharu, in Gatu. We had that there. We actually had a candidate who lost, and again he also lost because Jubilee MPs who were campaigning for the other person. We had another candidate in Lakeview Ward in Naivasha, again who lost because the Jubilee MPs there were campaigning for another candidate. Fortunately in Wendani, I mean, at least we came out with one. In Wendani, here in Kiambu, we got one Jubilee candidate who actually went through.
So it was a tough day for Jubilee.
It was a tough day for us.
Yes.
And we're not pretending about it.
Right.
But fortunately it's a battle. It's one battle. We still have a war going on. And we've learned.
Have you?
We have learned. Today we spent a couple of hours with a few of my colleagues, and we were saying, you know what, we need to accept that had we stepped up, had we done what, had I been in Msambweni, okay, I wouldn't have been in Msambweni. Musabla would have been in Keharu, in a polling station, watching the polls for the MCA candidate for Jubilee. The results might have been different. Had I gone to Keharu to campaign for that candidate, the results could have been different.
So
the Jubilee, those of us who stand with the president and who were supporting the position that the president took, that we did not want to get into a competition with ODM in Msambweni, failed on this one because we didn't step up. We watched. We allowed our handshake partners to do their campaign. We didn't step up. We could have gone to Msambweni and campaigned for the candidate.
So you took it for granted, maybe?
We took it for granted, and that's a mistake we made. And I don't think we are going to make that mistake again.
Mushima?
You know, when you listen to Mheshimiwa Ngunjiri say that they took it for granted, had I been in Kiharu or Naivasha, maybe they would have won. They wouldn't. They wouldn't have won. Whether Ngunjiri went, whether Raphael Tuju went, whether Murathe went, they would not have made it. not in Kiharu, not in Naivasha.
Why'd you say that?
Actually, even Kawasukari, you see the margin is only 124 votes. Because they've lost touch with the people. Completely lost touch with the people. When Ngunjiri sits here and tells us that the party made a decision, which party?
The party that I belong to.
The party...
Which you both belong to.
Well, I belong to it. I mean,
the party...
Clearly, he does.
The party that we are both supposed to belong to.
Yes, you both Jubilee.
Makes a decision. Even the deputy party leader is informed of the decision when it's going to be announced. No party organ sits to make that decision that we are not going to field a candidate. Why would a serious political party that is in government not field candidates in elections, by elections, at a time that they are still governing? Therefore, those decisions that are being made from certain quarters and certain corners of the Pangani House, the Pangani is Jubilee headquarters, without consultations with the members. Ngunjiri can tell you, I don't know when the last time we had a party meeting as Jubilee. I see ODM meeting every now and then. I see Wiper members meeting. I see, well, they've not conducted elections, but I've seen Jubilee at least have been given, I think, a quarter to conduct their party elections. But you must ask yourself, how do we arrive at decisions as a democratic political party? Ngunjiri says, for those of them that support the president, and I support the president, but I will not blindly support the president. If the president's decision is to support an ODM candidate in an election, any election, I will not support that decision. And I will give my reasons for not supporting it. But I must be offered that opportunity to be able to sit in a party sitting and be told that we now are testing this handshake business. First of all, remember, Jeff, the handshake was never billed as a political agreement where we would come and dissolve our political parties or have a working arrangement between our two political parties to even jointly field candidates. So when you make those decisions in the backroom and come and force them down on me, and you expect me as a Jubilee member to go and force those decisions down on the people, that is where Wambugu and the rest could not go and force that decision down on the people of Kiharu, Naivasha, Kawasukari, or even Msambweni.
Allow me.
What is happening? Let me just finish that as my last point. What is happening now is that there are jitters now because they have lost. Jubilee has lost big time. ODM has lost big time. I think ODM also just got one seat in Kisumu. Jubilee just got one seat in Kiambu. And that is where you see now fingers being pointed in ODM at Governor Joho. There are those within ODM who are saying, no, it's Joho who mismanaged this. Those in Jubilee saying, you know, if we were there, had we only done this and that, would have won. Why didn't you do it? It's a contest, it's a political contest.
And that's
why didn't you do it?
And that's actually, and that's why we personally, for myself and for the team I'm part of, we're taking responsibility because we should have done it.
You're not in denial.
No. We don't. Because see, I listened to Mheshimiwa Shungwa speak about the way the party made a decision that they didn't agree with, but then he went and made a decision that they were going to go against what the party made, the decision the party made, and they were going to support the candidate who the party had said they were going to support the candidate competing against the candidate who the party. That was a decision that was made. And when Mheshimiwa Shungwa says that had we been in Kiharu, we would not have made a difference, I am not sure. I mean, I don't know. He went to Msambweni and he made a difference. I don't know why he assumes that if Ngunjiri went to Kiharu, he will not make a difference. He might be correct. I might not have made a difference. But we'll never know because I did not go.
Right.
So what's going to happen is that the next time there's a by-election, I will be in that place where there's a by-election and Kemandi will be on the other side, and we will see what happens. And we will see whether at the end of that by-election, when we come back here again, we'll be having the same conversation. Because I am sure I know a few things that I could have added value to the candidate in Kiharu had I gone there. And by not being there means he didn't have that particular value. But let me also finish something here. He's made another very valid point. He says that the reason we might not have made a difference is because we've lost touch with the population. He could be right. Again, that's something else we are going to correct. Because you see, part of learning and losing is that you actually have to learn from it. You have to analyze and ask yourself, okay, are you telling me that maybe the reason Kiharu people didn't vote a Jubilee candidate is because Jubilee has lost touch? Fine. Then we're going to go and get in touch. We are going to go into Kiharu and we're going to get in touch because clearly the candidate, the Jubilee member of parliament in Kiharu, is not selling Jubilee in Kiharu. He's selling something else. So we need to now think of Dede Joro as not being a member of Jubilee, because had he been a member of Jubilee, he would have actually campaigned for the Jubilee candidate while still insisting that you guys have lost touch. But he's a guy who's there. So we as members of Jubilee, have to accept that some of our colleagues are actually quite happy for the party to get embarrassed, or the party leader to get embarrassed, or the party leader to lose an election to make a point. And that is their right.
Okay.
But then we also have to step in and do something about it, because we hadn't.
But with the referendum, maybe in 2021, in the next 6 months or so, this is kind of too little, too late.
No. Because you see, the advantage of these by-elections is that they've actually explained to us what Kimani has just said. Maybe we've lost touch with the ordinary.
But it took you this long to find out.
It doesn't matter how long it takes. The elections haven't come. The referendum hasn't come. Are you telling me that I can't be able to change that conversation in 2 months? Let me give you an example. Ishungwa and the deputy president came to Nyeri, and they had this big crowd. I'm sure you saw it. It was on the screen. They had this big crowd, and and I was there, and they asked me to speak, and I'll use their words. The crowd refused to allow me to speak, right? I'm not even going to argue the point. Let's even assume that is correct. They left, and they left me in Nyeri. Since that time, I have been in Nyeri working very hard, that if he came again, the crowd would not refuse to allow me to speak. Because that's what you're supposed to do. When you go to a place and you realize something is different, your work is to then go and find out, because these are the people who elected me. If it is true that they will refuse to allow me to speak in front of the deputy president, once the deputy president leaves, and Kimani Ichung'wah leaves, and all the troop of MPs who they had come with left, I was left in Nyeri. And I spent a week. I have been in Nyeri again. I came this morning. I am spending 3 to 4 days a week in Nyeri, asking the people of Nyeri, okay guys, why would you tell me not to speak? They tell me, no, we are not happy here. I fix that. We are not happy here. I fix that. That is what it means to learn. So when you pick this conversation, and as a member of Jubilee, I ask myself, why did the Jubilee candidate lose in Keharo? I need to go and find out. Then I'll be told, no, you Jubilee people left us. Then I'm like, okay, now we have come. So the next time there's something like this, you're going to stand with us? Yes, we will stand with you. Okay, that's how we do this.
It's good to hear Ngujiri saying that they will learn. And
no, we will implement. We have learned. We will implement.
I wish you all the best. But
thank you very much.
What you need to realize, Ngujiri, is that when you lose touch with the people, not just in elections, it's in their day-to-day lives. For instance, if I give you the example of the push now for a referendum, BBI, and everything that is going on, look at the attitude that it is brought to the people with. That is what the people are resisting. That you go out as political parties because you think you own the political parties, you own the people, you own their thinking and their ideologies, you can just shove anything down their throats. Same attitude BBI is being brought to the people with, irrespective of the feelings of the ordinary Kenyan. Whether Kenyans feel that the economy is so battered and their personal economies are also battered and their livelihood shattered by the pandemic and they just need to wiggle out and be able to survive. But as leaders, what are we telling them as Jubilee leaders? We are just telling them our topmost priority now is BBI. Why? Because BBI will make sure that we will never fight again during elections. We were fighting only yesterday in Msambweni. We fought the other day in Kibra. If there's another by-election, at least in one constituency, they will still be fighting. And I'll tell you what I said yesterday, and I want to repeat it here, especially to IG Mutiambai. And I told him this is just how his predecessor, Major General Ali, found himself in the dock at ICC, allowing the politicization of the police force by civil servants and politicians. Yesterday, policemen in Msambweni were not just doing their police work in terms of being told, directed, arrest, Ichung'wah arrest, Mudhama arrest, Sudi go arrest who and who, to be able to derail and disorganize their team. The policemen, in certain cases, were involved in voter bribery.
That's alleged. That's alleged.
Yes, listen, as a member I'll tell you, get observers. Because there are observers on the ground.
This is the one of.
Let me finish, Ngujiri.
I tend to be very careful.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
When we discredit an entire police force.
Why don't you allow me to finish? I'm not discrediting an entire police force because there are certain officers who are involved.
But you'd have them by name, you'd
Yes.
have them by number, first numbers.
I was not there as a member of the national. It's called what, the National Police Service Commission and the IPOA.
So that
I would not know
how
names,
will we
and
solve it?
don't belittle what I'm saying with unnecessary arguments. I was saying the police. My point is, the police in this country is being over politicized. We saw it in Kibra. They are being directed on what side to take in a political contest. That is how you begin to destroy the country. That is how you Kenyans get to trash the handshake and BBI when you tell them that this is the solution to fighting during electioneering times. When the police are escorting goons to go and disrupt other people. One of my colleagues, who I don't want to mention here, called C.S. Matiang'i last evening, in the afternoon actually, when they arrested Honorable Mudhama and Honorable Koech and drove them from Kwale all the way to Port Police in Mombasa. And he arrogantly told the member that we are arresting all members of parliament from both sides. Not a single member of parliament. Not Governor Joho, who had goons in tow with him. The police were there to guard. The same thing. Let me. There are facts, and you saw it in Kibra. You saw it yesterday in Msambweni. My point is, if we don't stop it, let us not even imagine that BBI will be the cure to political violence in this country.
See, I first and foremost, as a member of the Security Committee, if we have a problem with the police force, and he's actually a senior member, he's not even at my rank. This is a serious guy. He's informed too in parliament, and he knows that if we have a problem with the police, we know how we can deal with it as parliamentary members, because we also have to be careful as MPs, as leaders, political leaders, and we cast a specific aspersion on specific parts of our security system. What you're telling the public who is listening is that the next time you go to a particular rally and you don't agree with what the police officer is saying, you actually have the right, because Ishungwa said this guy is taking sides, and Ishungwa is a senior member of parliament. You can actually use that as an argument, and that's why I'm very, very careful when we are pointing fingers at security officers. We have processes, and Ishungwa knows those processes of how to deal with rogue officers if we actually find that they're doing that way. He talks about Kibra. The last thing I remember is the president saying how impressed he was with Kibra. It was a peaceful election. I mean, people went and voted and went home. And I most probably take the president's word more than I'll take Ishungwa's on that particular issue.
That is only two members of parliament who were beaten up and they could afford Nairobi Hospital.
I mean, that's what he said. And first and foremost, we don't know what the two members of parliament were doing. I'm not justifying that they were beaten. I don't even know that they were beaten. But one of the things I remember is seeing Halwale holding stones. A picture of Halwale holding stones. I don't know what he intended to do with those stones. I saw a picture. I mean, I can't allege he was throwing them at someone. But, you know, it's not an ordinary thing to see a guy walking around holding rocks. So I'm going to assume he was planning to do something bad with them. So, I mean, I don't even want to get into that argument. What I want to come back to is this issue of, for example, I hear Ishungwa explaining that, you know, BBI is being forced on us. BBI is being pushed to Kenyans and they're resisting. And let's assume that is correct. Ishungwa has the opportunity to actually take the lead in telling Kenyans, we need to refuse this thing. We need to refuse to allow this thing to happen. He has refused to do that for some reason.
He has refused to refuse.
He has refused to refuse. and again, it's a right of his. But then, so what I want to say is, first and foremost, our lessons for those of us who support BBI, for example, from yesterday's by-election, to some point we actually align with his. And we're asking ourselves, do we need to talk different? You know, one of the problems about being a supporter of government is that governments across the world are very heavy-handed in how they do stuff. And a lot of the times when you're explaining about you're giving electricity or you're fixing, I mean, look at what is happening in Nairobi. Nairobi is getting fixed. It's getting fixed. I mean, there's absolutely nobody's going to argue that Nairobi is getting fixed. But how is it getting fixed? There's a certain heavy-handedness to how it's getting fixed. And that's one of the problems about government, that when you want to do something and you're doing the right thing, sometimes you do it the wrong way. And what we are supposed to do as politicians, especially who come from the coalition that has formed government, is to actually try and help government to stop doing those things, not to embarrass it, for doing it. That is a work of opposition. But again, we are in a very strange country at this moment in time, where the official opposition is in government, part of the government is in opposition, and it's just what it is.
It's very
and as we're going to the referendum, it's really
but
confusing.
You make a good point, Mheshimiwa. So why not just take a stand? Why not just say, you know what, let's go no? You refuse. Tangatanga refuses to go no.
Why is everybody, the media, politicians? Well, I don't know about you, but at least for him, and I would understand why Ngunjiri would be eager for me to say no. Because first,
if you're so sure it's wrong,
can I finish?
It's doing the wrong thing. Just say it.
Do you want to say what I wanted to say?
No.
So why don't you allow me then to say what I want to say? Then you can interject.
I find, because you used me as an example.
Say what you want to say, then I'll answer.
You've used me as an example, and you said you're finding it very strange that we seem to be asking you to take a position. It's because you're a leader. As a leader, Kenyans expect you to take a position. You can't wake up and say this thing is wrong. I don't like where it's going. And then ultimately, when you're asked, do you support it or not? You're like,
So can I say what I was saying now that he interjected to say nothing? Really, one, I have not refused to take a position. I have taken a position as a responsible leader that this is not a time to draw me into a contest that is unnecessary.
That is not a position.
A contest that will be so costly to this country, Jeff. I was in a funeral today with the governor for Kiambu. I have watched in your news tonight, I think it was, I can't remember, it was Governor which county, speaking about how they don't have, Governor Nyeri, speaking about how they don't have money for 3 months. I actually kind of doubted my governor when I said that they have not received money for the last 3 months. Wambugu here will tell you, our staff, our CDF and constituency staff were only paid towards the end of last month for the last 2 months. They've just gotten their money last week for the additional 2 months and December salaries. Money that ought to have come at the beginning of the quarter. CDF, we are opening schools in January. I think January 4th.
4th.
A lot of Kenyans have had their livelihood shattered by this pandemic. 2 million Kenyans, Jeff, who are in formal employment, wearing suits and ties like you, nice ones like yours, have no jobs. About close to 3.6, almost 4 million Kenyans who are in the informal sector today are jobless. They have no means to take their children back to school. CDF comes in, and Ngunjiri will tell you, like I do in Kikuyu, like he does in Nyeri. We are able at least to give these people between 5, 8, maybe 10,000 for those who are very needy. In some areas, up to 15, 20,000 shillings. We are going to the 7th month. This is the 6th month, so we are headed to the 7th month after the beginning of the financial year. We are yet to get a single coin of CDF.
And your point is?
My point is, our CS, National Treasury, has just told us we are broke. The second CS after Nyachai, I hope he will not be fired, because Nyachai said the country was broke and Moi fired him. I hope this one is not fired, because he's telling the truth. We are broke. So should we be focusing on getting into a contest between me and Ngunjiri to say yes or no, to be able to create a position? And I just told you when we were off air, when we were starting, before we started the show with Ngunjiri, I told you this BBI is very good for us, for the political class. He could easily become a deputy prime minister, he could become one, I could become a prime minister, he could also become a prime minister, or at least a minister. So it's good for us, the political class. But are we listening to the ordinary Kenyan who has no food on the table? Are we listening to that ordinary Kenyan who doesn't know how you will take their children to school in January? Doesn't know whether we are asking them to, I heard we are telling chiefs to make sure that children go to school, not telling chiefs to take masks and ensure there is adequate social distancing in our schools. I was in a school today, I told you, when I came from Sambweni, I went to the constituency and I toured at least 2 schools. And I met a principal who told me, who was showing me inside the laboratory where they have set out some isolation, because it's a new building that is yet to be commissioned for use as a laboratory. But because they're being told by government, you must have an isolation place in case someone got sick. And you just put a double-decker bed there. So as a responsible leader, I have got to ask myself, where are our priorities? And I said it last week. Our priorities right now are lopsided. So when I tell Ngunjiri that you have lost touch with the people, it's because you don't listen to the people. You want to believe that, yes, hey, government, as you say, is heavy-handed. It ought to be heavy-handed.
No, I didn't say
It is
that.
only dictatorships.
I actually didn't say that. And
democracies and democratic nations like ours should not be heavy-handed. We must work and walk with the people. We must work with the people in terms of being able to address what are their immediate needs and their long-term needs.
Right,
now we have put
Jeff,
our political needs first ahead of the people's needs. And I will not get into that contest.
And that's okay. I mean, that's also a right. You actually have a right not to take a position.
So I made a decision.
And it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it doesn't show leadership, but it's okay. You can actually choose not to take a position.
Right.
But then what we need to also be focused on, I'm sure you read Chimananda's book on the danger of the is it called the single story?
Yes.
Which is what Akina Ishungwa are trying to push, that the government can only do one thing. And right now, the only thing we're supposed to be doing, I don't know is what. Because we are trying to take children back to school, for example. And we also have to try and equip hospitals. And we also have to try and make sure the economy is moving. We also, next week we're in Bunge to try and do some of the tax reliefs we gave. We have to keep doing these things. The question we need to ask ourselves is, we are building roads right now. I saw the president launching the bridge in Mombasa.
Yes.
I mean, we have the bridge, the floating bridge. We have a railway going down to Nanyuki. And so the question I want to ask myself and I want to ask Ishungwa is, are we supposed to stop those ones as well? Because at what point are you telling us that our government cannot be able to walk and chew gum at the same time? Are you trying to tell us? I've had the arguments being pushed again by Tangatanga about the way we are supposed to be focused on our medical personnel at this time. Fact. But we're supposed to be focused on our medical personnel all the time. In 2016, we were in the same problem. We didn't have COVID. We didn't have the kind of problems we have. Our medical personnel were striking. So we can't argue that now we have to stop building the nation so that we can fix this thing. We have to fix this thing and build the nation. Because Ishungwa is still going to parliament. Ishungwa was in a by-election. Why didn't he stay at home? Why didn't he refuse to be part of a by-election? Why did he go and participate in a political process at a time like now? He should have been the first person to show how disgusted he is with politicians and say, despite the fact that there's a by-election, I shall not participate because this is the wrong time to be having by-elections. He went to a by-election. He's very happy he won.
I wish IBC had put the date.
Remember, he doesn't want, he's now at the point of, we have been having a process for 2 years where we have put money in, we have had arguments, we have had discussions, we have had proposals. Kenyans have, and it's a lot of Kenyans. Because again, we have 4-point-something million people who have signed, right? That's a lot of Kenyans who are saying, we want to be part of this process. We want to get to the bottom of this process. There's another maybe 4 million Kenyans who are saying, no, we don't want to be part of this process. But all these Kenyans are equal. And we have to listen to all of them. So when I hear Ishungwa's argument that, no, we need to stop everything and fix this. And I'm like, but Ishungwa, you haven't stopped what you're doing to fix this.
Jeff.
You are still participating. And now, Ishungwa, you're going to have to allow me to finish because I'm allowing you to finish. You're still participating in the politics. You're a career politician. That's what you do. You have spent a week in Msambweni. You're telling me people are broke, people don't have money. You are not staying on the streets. You are living in a nice hotel. You are most probably facilitating, I'm not going to say you are facilitating voters. You are most probably facilitating the people who are watching the votes, making sure the returning officers from your side of the party are well fed. You are spending money, right?
Yeah. We
are arguing there's no money. Why didn't you stop spending that money and go and do what you're saying we should be doing it? It's because you knew that was an important process. You knew that the people from somewhere needed to have a member of parliament, so when you go to parliament, they're represented. So this issue of the BBI conversation, and remember, we haven't even started spending money on BBI as a referendum. I always tell people, Ekuro Okot collected 1 million signatures, took them through the process of IBC, took them to county assemblies, and it failed. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe Akina Ishungwa are sure it's going to pass so that we go to a referendum. But I want to ask them, what if it doesn't pass? What if IBC doesn't get to 1 million signatures, for example? Why don't we wait for the process to actually move its natural process? So that when we are now getting to the point where the only thing that is remaining is money for a referendum, we're then having that debate. Because Ekuro Okot, I didn't hear anybody say we don't have money for a referendum. But now this particular one, we are arguing about whether we should do a referendum or not. Let Kenyans decide. Because again, why are you assuming that the Kenyans who supported the BBI process so far, and they're there? Where are you still assuming they're not important?
All right, gentlemen, I want to take a quick break before we come back. And when we come back, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about Nairobi, as in Sonko, as in impeachment. Is it going to happen? What are your thoughts? Also, CJ Maraga, cloud of controversy. Who's the next CJ? You guys let us know. What do you think? Who do you think?
I don't know.
Your thoughts? All right. Let's take a break. Wow. You know, I'm so confused. You guys both are very convincing. So
And you're from the same party.
And you're from the same party. Good.
We were in the same party.
Now we are not.
The party was taken.
No, we are in the
Stolen.
party. These guys left. I'm not sure where they are right now.
Yeah.
It was stolen.
Yeah. Oh my. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLive. Who stole the party, Mheshimiwa?
You know them.
We'll be back in a moment.
You've seen them on TV.
But president is still the party leader.